Good evening. Welcome to Getting Clear with Tim Jones. I'm Tim Jones. I'm happy to be here with you tonight. Got an exciting night that we're going to be sharing some things with you that I believe are pretty important. We're going to talk about something tonight that affects all of us. We try to do that every show. We try and talk about those things that affect us all. This subject tonight, um, I really want you to pay attention to it. Go ahead and go ahead and hit the like button and share. You're going to want to share this with someone, especially if you have a family. Not just if you have a family, but especially if you have a family, if you have children, if you have a wife, if you're responsible for leading any group of people, regardless of what the extent of that leadership is. If you are a leader in any way, if you are an emerging leader, I like to talk to and about the emerging leaders, those who are being specifically called upon in this time to step into places of influence. If you know that's you definitely want to be a part of this conversation tonight. And if you know anyone who has that kind of influence on their life, has that kind of call on their life, go ahead and share this video with them. They will want to be on and will want to hear what we're going to be talking about tonight. I'm going to dive into Revelation's 18th chapter because it kind of holds um, it's going to be the foothold for us tonight as we talk about some things and present some things and ask some questions. Revelations 18 will be at the crux of everything that we're talking about tonight. Revelations 18, and I'm actually going to start with Isaiah, the ninth chapter, to just build the foundation as we talk about this subject tonight. I usually don't necessarily give titles to my shows, but tonight I really wanted to do this one surrounding this topic of Babylon, the fall of Babylon. Babylon will fall. If you've listened to me or you've heard me or you've heard any of my messages, you've heard that before because I talk about how Babylon will fall and what what kind of impact that will have on us, on you, and on me, and on our world. It's significant. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. So again, go ahead. I invite you to hit the like button and share this video so that as many as can and will have an opportunity to hear this information. You can follow me on YouTube, Getting Clear with Tim Jones, on Facebook, Getting Clear with Tim Jones, and on Instagram, Getting Clear with Tim Jones. I'm also on TikTok. You can follow me there as well. Listen to some of the stuff we're doing. I'm doing my part to help make the world a better place. I'm doing what I can do to be a part of the solution. And my encouragement to you, to everyone, is to be a part of the solutions and not a part of the problems. That takes intentionality and that takes you understanding what it is you're carrying, what it is you have to offer. Everyone has something inside of them that will and can and will make the world better. You have to discover what that is and begin to intentionally put that out in the world. Um, you have to begin to intentionally become whatever that is and serve the world with that goodness, with that greatness that's on the inside of you, with that purpose that's on the inside of you. So, we're going to jump into this topic tonight. Thank you for all of you who will join. A lot of people watch my um, my videos afterwards, and that's fine. That's wonderful. I don't care. We're certainly trying to grow this platform, but my heart is that people will have an opportunity to hear the voice of wisdom um, as God gives it to me. I don't try and be anything other than what I am. I understand exactly what I am. I understand exactly what I'm carrying, and I understand what my assignment is. And my heart is to help each and every one of you to understand what your assignment is and to be convinced so that you can't be deceived. All right. So let's go ahead and do this. Babylon will fall. And what is the significance of Babylon? What does Babylon represent? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that. I said I was going to start with Isaiah, but I'm going to actually start with the Revelations. I think I want to start there, just so we can get uh get your taste buds ready for what we're going to be talking about here. I'm pulling this up here so I can look at it and not have to look at my phone. And if you want to follow along, that's Revelations, the 18th chapter. I'm not going to read the whole thing unless I get halfway in the middle of it and I'm inspired to continue reading. That happens sometimes. But my focus is really going to be on um oops. There we go. My focus is really going to be on verses 4 uh 4 and 5, particularly verse 4. And I'm going to read this from the New King James Version. A lot is going on in our world right now. Um, so many sad things happening in our world right now. There are good things happening too. There's always good that's happening. In fact, I would wager to say may even be more good than there is bad. But media, um, they put the bad out, right? Because that sells, that gets people's attention, that keeps them in front of people, that pays their bills, and so forth and so on, and et cetera, et cetera. You know this narrative. I don't have to tell you. Um, but there are good things happening in our world. I do encourage you to guard your gates, guard your mind, your will, and your emotions. Okay. Don't allow yourself to get caught up into everyone else's story, okay, and neglect your own story. Don't get caught up in everyone else's life and neglect what's going on with you and what's going on in your life. Be present in your life. Be present and aware of your surroundings and what's going on, not just on the outside, but on the inside of you. Be aware of what's happening on the inside of you. All right. I don't want to get on a soapbox there. So let's go ahead and jump into Revelations 18. After these things, I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was illuminated with his glory. And he cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean and hated bird. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, and lest you receive of her plagues. For her sins have reached to the heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. I'm going to keep going. Render to her just as she rendered to you, and repay her double according to her works. In the cup which she has mixed, mix double for her. In the measure that she glorified herself and lived luxuriously, in the same measure give her torment and sorrow. For she says in her heart, I sit as queen and am no widow and will not see sorrow. Therefore, her plagues will come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she will be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord who judges her. I'm going to stop right there. So, my real emphasis, I'm going to really emphasize verse 4. Come out of her, my people. So I work in insurance as a life, health, and annuity agent. I primarily right now working with Medicare and seniors. And when I tell you that the seniors are in crisis, it's not an exaggeration. Our seniors are in crisis. Okay. There should be in a time of their lives when they're being taken care of and treated royally, really. But instead, they're worried, they're frustrated, they're stressed out. They can't even enjoy their latter years because they don't know how they're going to make it tomorrow. They don't know if they're going to make it tomorrow. They don't know if their money's going to run out. And they become dependent. So many of them are dependent on the government and they hate it, but they don't have a choice. And so I get to hear and to see every day, hear the voices, see some of their faces. These seniors, our precious seniors who are struggling. And the only ones who are not struggling are the very, very well off. Okay? Even those who've done well, they find themselves struggling right now. And there are a lot of reasons why that is so. And I'm not going to talk about all of those reasons because it'll take me off subject a little bit. But I will say this to you, be aware of what's happening, man. Be aware of what's happening to our seniors. They need help, right? And to keep all of us from ending up or being in a place like that when we become, older and want to retire, hopefully you can retire. I don't necessarily subscribe to retiring so much. I think you ought to refire instead of retire, especially if you've not been doing what you were sent here to do. Man, now's the time that you should really begin doing that, focusing on that, finding, discovering it. It's never too late to discover your purpose. But here's the thing, man, who can do that when they're worried about their food? Who can do that when they're worried about how they're going to get medicine? Who can do that when they're worried about how they're going to pay bills as an elder? Okay. And many of them can't even work anymore. And they have to depend on the government and family. And many times we all know family don't always step up to the plate like they should when it comes to seniors. All kinds of reasons why. Nevertheless, my mother used to say this. My mother used to say, she used to talk about when she would become like a baby again. She said, one day you're going to become like a baby again. Your steps will get shorter. She used to say things like that. And I go, Mama, yeah, I would listen to her, but really not give a lot of attention to what she was saying. I heard her though, but I find her words coming back to me as I'm in my 60s now. I hear her voice so often and the things that she would say. And I went, wow, man, we're coming to that place where our steps are getting shorter, right? And so you want to be able to enjoy whatever that means to you. Okay. Your latter years. And, some people have saved and, have created, have done well with finances and have had good breaks in life. And many haven't, you know, and you are really penalized if you haven't. So much I'm trying to stay on topic because I almost want to start going down that pathway, and we will another time, another show, another night. But I want to stick with this subject about Babylon falling because all of the all of the things that go into our economy, particularly here in the United States, but across the world, the economy is what it is because we created it to be what it is, and it has become what it has become because we have either done well or not done well, and it has become what it has become. um I really don't like getting into politics a lot, and there are several reasons, and I won't go into them, but I will say this, whatever the world is, whatever is going on in the world, we made it that way, or we allowed it to become that. And when I say we, who are you talking to? We, I'm talking about all of us. The world, the earth has been given to man to steward it. Okay. And a part of stewarding the world, the earth, means that we have to learn how, because all of us have this responsibility, not just some, we all have that responsibility, which means that we have to share that responsibility. And in order to share the responsibility for managing and stewarding the earth, we certainly have to share the responsibility for managing and stewarding ourselves and each other. That comes with the territory. All of us are designed, by design, dominators. Okay. And our assignment has been to dominate in the earth, to dominate everything in the earth, but not each other. We're never meant to dominate each other. And so, right there alone, you can just say, you can just, if you want to, you can just, you can blame a lot of things on that if you want to. Just go right there. Well, that's the problem. And much of that would be accurate, but it's not the only problem. So we have to share this responsibility for managing not only the earth but ourselves and each other. So that means that we have to have a healthy respect for each other, which you can only really have when you have truth, when you know truth, the truth about who you are. Okay, it begins there, because when you know the truth about who you are, then it helps you to be able to understand other people and get along with other people, relate to other people, encourage other people, help other people, right? So, this narrative of managing and sharing that responsibility to manage falls on all of our shoulders. And that's why I say, however the world is, whatever it is, we've allowed it to become that, or we've made it that way. We've contributed to it, is my point. And so, if it is going to be better, get better, it will be because we took ownership, took responsibility for the management of it, beginning with the management of ourselves, because you can't manage anything or anyone else until you manage yourself well enough. Okay. So, what does all of this have to do with Babylon? The systems and the systems by which we've been given, has been established for us to get our needs met, to be able to have a life, to grow our lives, to become something more, to become something better, to have aspirations. The systems that have been put in place, those systems Babylon represents those systems. And there are many reasons why. I'm not going to go into all of those reasons why. But what I will say to you is, begin to look at it yourself. Look around you. and notice some things. Notice, notice not just from the standpoint of your own local community, but start taking notice there in your own local community, in your own town, your own city, your own neighborhood, your own state, your own country, and then begin to look at other countries. Look at how we are relating to each other. Look at how we are relating to each other from one country to another. Look at how we're relating to each other in our country, in our own country. Look at things like race relations. We don't usually like to talk about things like that, but it's a real thing, right? And it doesn't go away. It continues to be an issue. Well, it's less of an issue for some, yes. And here's a probably a hard thing to say, a bad thing to say, maybe. I don't know, but it's the truth. Okay. The more of the older generations that leave the earth, there's a good possibility that race will become less of an issue. I mean, it is what it is. Why do you say that, um, Tim? Why do you say things like that? I say things like that because, just like there are certain things that my kids know nothing about because they grew up in a time that was past that. They grew up in a time when they know about computers, they know about phones, they know about digital games. They were born into those awarenesses, born into those cultures. And so they don't know anything about outhouses, right? They don't know anything about cell phones as big as your head. They don't know anything about 8 tracks. They don't know anything about hi-fi sets. They don't know anything about those things because they were born in a time when those things were no longer relevant or no longer being used in the culture. So they don't know a lot about racism like we do. Okay. Those who are older, baby boomers and above, right? Many of us have firsthand accounts of situations and circumstances and things and that, this and that, and such and such. It is what it is. So that's why I say that, the more of us that leave the planet, that 60, 70, 80, the less it will be. But that still doesn't mean it's going to go away because it's not going away. It'll still be here and you'll still have to deal with it. It is one of the issues that I don't even know how I can say this and it not be misinterpreted. It's almost like it has been ingrained in the fiber of who man is. Now, it's not a part of who man is, but we have made it such a part of who we are that we don't know how to exist without it yet. Notice I said yet, right? We just don't know how to yet. But these are some of the opportunities that we have is to learn how to. I mean, I want to learn how to before I leave the planet, right? I don't want my kids to have all the fun. No, there are some things that we can do better in, do better with, and do better at. I don't care if we are 50, 60, 70. We can do better. But we have to want to, number one. And number two, we can't operate in pride, right? Pride will kill you, right? And number three, we have to rightly discern who we are and what it is we're carrying. I know I say that a lot. But the reason I say it a lot is because so many people disregard the importance and significance of understanding who you are. And I'm telling you, everything rides on it. Everything in your life. Listen, even Jesus himself said it this way. When the Pharisees were trying to trap him, they were always trying to trap him. And they asked him this question: what's the greatest commandment? What's the greatest commandment? And Jesus said, that you love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your all your soul, all your strength, right? And he says the second one is like it, that you love your neighbor as yourself. And then he went on to say, all of the prophets and all of the law hang on these two commandments. Now, think about that for a moment. Jesus says all of the history hangs on the everything that you know about God, everything that you know about man, all of it hangs on these two commandments. Love God and love your neighbor as yourself. Well, that right there by itself, that poses a problem if you don't love yourself. If you're supposed to love your neighbor as you love yourself, then that, presupposes that you need to understand how to love yourself. Well, here's the thing. You can't even really adequately, efficiently, effectively love yourself if you don't know who you are. Bottom line. So that's why I talk about that so much. That's why I'm always bringing it up, because people don't know who they are. Okay. So we can fix a lot of things by simply understanding, gaining a sense of what it is we're here for. Then you can start to see yourself as a solution. You start to look at things differently. You look at yourself differently. You start to look at things differently. And consequently, you look at other people differently as well. Some of those things right there alleviate some of the relational issues that we have by default. All right. So I said all of that, right? And we're talking about Babylon falling. So if you look at the state of the country and the state of the world, you understand, particularly in our country, with our economy, and our government likes to print money, right? And we like for them to print money and give it to us. But guess what? Because they created this system the way they created it, the system is like a balloon, one that you blow air into. And so printing money becomes like blowing air in a balloon. It's only so much air you can blow in a balloon, right? Some of that air has got to be going out if you're going to keep blowing air in it. It needs to be a hole, pinhole somewhere so that the air can go out, and you can just keep blowing in it all day. But there's only so much air you can blow in that balloon before it pops. Well, our economy, and I want to recommend. Well, I'm not gonna recommend that book. But want to um, if you want to have a conversation about our economy, see, I talk about this in a particular way. Okay, if you want to have a conversation about that, you know, hit me up. We'll talk about it privately, and I'll recommend some resources to you that will help to enlighten you about what's happening and what's going on. But I wanted to give you that example so that you can understand when I start talking about Babylon will fall. Okay, things are collapsing and will are going to collapse as it concerns, our economy. We've heard this. You've heard experts talk about it. I am in no way an expert on the economy. I just know what I see. I know what has been, and I pay attention to things. Okay, and so we know that at some point, look at what's happening right now. Okay, food has gone up so high, which is part of the reason some of the seniors are in the situation that they're in. They can't even afford to buy food, man. Right? So look at the state that we're in right now, and just ask yourself, can we continue like this? You don't have to have any special knowledge. You don't even have to have any special wisdom. Just ask yourself, can we continue like this? Or does something have to change? Or some things? if we're going to get better. If things are going to get better, yeah, you know the answer to that. If things are going to get better, yes, some things are going to have to change. And sometimes change involves collapsing. Because if you got something that's not working, then either what you have that you're using can't work, or it's outdated. Maybe it worked once, but now it's not working because things are different, things have changed, people are different, needs are different. So we have to reimagine, reimagine everything, beginning with how we see ourselves and how we view ourselves. So, Babylon falling, when they show up at your door and you can't, you don't have money to buy food or to buy the necessities, right? And someone comes along and they say, okay, you don't have money to buy food. I'll buy you food, or I'll supply you with something, your needs. I'll make sure your bills get paid. I'll make sure you have food. I'll make sure your kids are fed, whatever. I'll make sure your needs are met. But what I'm going to need you to do is this. I'm going to need you to do this. I'm going to need you to sign here. I'm going to need you to be here. I'm going to need you to do that. Okay. When they show up at your door that way and you don't have any choices, your choice is to do what they're asking, or starve to death, or go hungry, or get your lights cut off, or lose your home, or whatever the case is. When you're put in a situation like that, what are you going to do? How will you make that decision? Well, for someone who may not have a strong um, um, sense of moral fortitude, a strong moral background, or stability, just do whatever, whatever that's good, whatever. Just meet my need, man. Just give me what I need, right? I'll sign. Where you want me to sign? What do you want me to do? I'll do it. Some people are just going to go there, and then there are others that will struggle because it will change who they are, or to feel that way, like they're giving up a part of themselves, or that they're now living a lie, and they will struggle in it. And then some people, they'll just rather die. They'll just die first. Where will you fall in that, right? You say, well, that's hypothetical. No, it's not hypothetical. I promise you it's not hypothetical. Are you paying attention to how fast AI is growing? And it's been with us for a while. AI has been around for a while, but are you really paying attention? Are you seeing what your friend Elon Musk is doing? Are you watching how fast they are developing the technology to make robots do human things? Are you paying attention to that? I hope you are. Not to scare you, but so that you are aware. I remember when I was sharing this story with my son a few days ago. I remember when it was a thing to have a computer in every household. Man, that was a thing. Boy, we can help. We can get every family to get a computer. That'll be awesome. That was like a big thing, man. You know what the big thing is? Big thing is and will be is to have a robot in everybody's house. How about that? Some people are ready for that. Let's go. Some are not. What are you going to do with that? How are you going to live with that? What will that mean to you and I? See, Babylon falling represents all of the things that have represented stability to us and for us collapsing. We can no longer do it that way, right? We know the 40-year plan collapsed some years ago. The 40-year plan was you get an amazing, get a good job, right? With some good benefits, right? And you work there for 40 years and you're going to retire, okay? And you're going to be able to live comfortably. You'll get a watch at retirement, probably a pen, right? And they'll have a party for you, send you on your way. You'll be getting enough money every month to meet your needs, and just you'll be chilling. You'll be on easy street, man. You worked for 40 years, now you're just chilling for the rest of your life. Yeah, that plan died out some time ago. It collapsed. What plan do you have? What's the system you're plugged into that represents your stability, your ability to get your needs met, your ability to aspire, to dream, to build? What system are you plugged into? Is that system safe? Is that system a part of Babylon, the Babylon system? It's very interesting. When I read that about the merchants of the earth, right? Becoming wealthy, becoming rich through the abundance of her luxury. It's crazy. We love luxury and we love convenience. Two things we love, right? And millions, billions have been amassed, um, catering to our luxury and our convenience. Okay? But this Bible says that those who became rich in this way built their lives on the system of Babylon. There will come a day when Babylon will fall. Can I suggest to you that we're not far from that? There will come a time that if that's where your stability lies, if you're still plugged in to Babylon, you'll fall with her. Encouraged by the story of Joseph. Now he had a dream early in his life. God gave him something and showed him something. He shared it with his brothers and with his parents, and they were like, "Boy, ain't nobody going to be serving you. Who you think you are?" And the very thing that God showed him, his very dream, landed him in a pit and then in a prison. But oh, the day was coming when the world would need the dreamer and his dream. The day was coming when those who had once laughed at him would now be asking for his help. I believe we're in those kind of days now. And I shared that about Joseph because the Lord gave me something back in can't even say 2000 because it was actually in 1998, I believe it was. Gave me this thing called God's Economy for the 21st Century. Didn't know what that was about. I just captured it. I wrote it down and I put it on the shelf because I didn't know what it was for. Thought it was interesting, but I didn't know what it was for. And we were still in the 20th century. And somewhere around about 2015, um, the Lord brought it back to my attention. And he said some things to me that kind of rocked me as it concerns God's economy for the 21st century. And he caused me to begin to look at it again and now actually see what he was saying. God's economy for the 21st century involves four pillars. And he began to say to me that this is a path. This is how I would love to bless my people. This is how you can unplug, if you will, from Babylon and plug into my economy. Because you got to know God has an economy. So he gave me this four pillar model, if you will. And the first, interestingly enough, the first pillar or the first leg of this thing is personal growth and development. Knowing who you are, understanding what you have, what is it you're carrying. And the way it's built, once you gain a sense of what it is you're carrying, then it becomes your responsibility. Notice that word. It becomes your responsibility to now take what you're carrying and develop it into a high quality product or service. The second pillar or leg of God's economy for the 21st century, I should have had a diagram for you. The second leg was business development. Business development. Everybody wants to start a business. I want to be my own boss. Want to do this, want to do that. Why do you want to start a business? Because I don't want nobody to tell me what to do. And because I want to control my own destiny. I want to control my own money. And, okay, I get it. I get it. Can I offer a suggestion that perhaps that's not what business is for? Perhaps. Perhaps business is really the second leg of this God's economy to help you to take what you have to offer, what you're carrying, and put it in a process that allows it to be developed into a high quality product or service so that you could present it to the world and it actually become a stream of income for you, as well as become a solution to some problem that exists in the earth. Maybe that's what business is about. The third leg or pillar of this model was creative marketing. So I'm going to use this word again. Once you discover what you are carrying, it becomes a responsibility to develop it into a high quality product or service. Then it becomes your responsibility to get it in front of those who need it and want it. Creative marketing is not just something you do to sell stuff. It's a responsibility that you have to get what you're carrying in front of the people who need it and want it. The fourth leg, pillar of God's economy for 21st century, is called investment resources. And you think, well, yeah, investing. Involves investing your time, your talent, and your treasure. And it's primarily the way something gets transferred or transmitted, or the way you get something happening in one generation to happen in another generation, because there was an investment from those who knew how to do it, from those who have done it, from those who have paved the way. There was an investment into those who were yet to go that way, who didn't know how to yet, who were still trying to figure it out, who were still trying to find their way. There was an investment into them that helped them to come up, to be raised up. Remember, I talked about responsibility for each other, management of each other. That's what investment resources is. It becomes your responsibility to now reach back and get someone who don't know how to do what you do, teach them, show them the way how to do it too. Those are the four pillars of God's economy for the 21st century. Right? It's a way that doesn't matter what your status is, doesn't even matter what you have or don't have. It's really all about discovery, discovering what you do have, and then beginning to apply yourself and discover how what you do have can change your life and consequently change someone else's too. So I want to make sure that I honor the time. So this whole concept of Babylon falling really deals with how we're going to move forward. What systems will we plug in? Are we just going to allow ourselves to be plugged into systems that we don't even really believe in? Are we going to allow ourselves to be plugged into things that don't reflect who we are? Or are we going to rally together with those with like minds, like hearts, like spirits, and begin to take the responsibility for helping to manage ourselves and each other and really become community? There are many that do that. I'm not even start naming, but there are. But it's needed on every level. It's needed in every community. It's needed. Okay. So that's that. Now, I want to close this with just this little brief Isaiah 9th chapter 6th and 7th verses. Why? Because much of what I've been talking about tonight really deals with what's going on between our ears, the space between our ears. And I want you to hear this so that you can understand that that's really where the work is. Because sometimes we be trying to fix something, we be trying to fix it without going to and fixing the thing that needs to be fixed. Listen to this. This was Isaiah in his prophecy about the Savior. He says, for unto us, this is Isaiah 9 and 6, for unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulder. And his name will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace, there will be no end upon the throne of David and over his kingdom, to order it and establish it with judgment and justice from that time forward, even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. Now we know that that was a prophecy about Jesus and the birth of Jesus, right? But I want to bring attention to this part of it that says, and the government will be upon his shoulders, and of the increase of that government and peace, there will be no end. It'll never end. Jesus is going to bring a new government to the earth that will never end. So we know that that's exactly what he did. But I want you to see this for what it is. That word government, okay? If you look it up in its original text, okay? And the reason why we do that is so that we can have adequate context for our understanding. Okay. Um, People don't even use the same language they did 20 years ago, not to mention 2,000 years ago. Okay. So we want to understand context of what these words meant at that time. So that word government is in its original text. It actually speaks about this whole assembly, the whole thing, shoulders and neck, right? Shoulders and neck, all one assembly. That's what that word government is speaking about. And it says the government will be on his shoulders. So what sits on our shoulders? This thing right here, right? Our mind, will, emotions, our ability to determine and to decide and to choose, to process, to be aware, sits on our shoulders. So Jesus is coming with a new awareness, a new mind, a new government, a new way of governing ourselves, a new way of seeing things, if you will. He's coming with that to the earth. And it's interesting, the very first word that was spoken out of his mouth in his first public address. It's one word. Everybody knows what this word is, right? Repent. The word literally means to change your thinking. Change the way you think. So here's Jesus coming with government on his shoulders. And the first thing he says is change the way you're thinking. Because the kingdom of God is at hand. There's a new government. There's a new economy. Change the way you're thinking. If you don't change the way you're thinking, you won't be able to unplug from Babylon, which means that you'll fall when she falls. No, change the way you're thinking so that you can unplug from Babylon and plug into the new government, the new way of thinking, the God's economy, how God would do it if he was here. And he is here in you and in me. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. And I hope that you got that. If you didn't, hit me up. We'll have a conversation about it. I'll show you some things. I'll show you scripture. I'll look stuff up with you. I love doing that kind of stuff, right? So that you can see it's this thing that's sitting on our shoulders and what's happening in between there. That's where either our bondage or our salvation lies. I want to encourage you to repent. Change the way you're thinking. Change the way you're thinking for the better. In order to do that, you have to take responsibility for the way you think. Take responsibility for your awareness or lack thereof and become aware. I've said this many times over the past several months, past year actually, is that the greatest revelation in the earth today is the I am revelation. Simply means that we're in a time where there's a window, okay, of opportunity to discover exactly why you are here, exactly what you're carrying, exactly why you were born. Don't be afraid of that. I want to encourage you to embrace that opportunity. If you don't know what that looks like or what that means, let's talk. Let's have a conversation. I can help with that. That's part of my assignment. Okay. So I hope you got something out of this. I really tried to stay on course. There's so many things that I can say and so many ways, directions that I can go from this because it pertains to everything. But I wanted to stick with this, you know, this particular concept about Babylon falling and how that's going to affect us and God's economy for this 21st century, Him giving us a way or giving us a plan. I believe that with everything within me, like I said, God gave me that back in 1998 and reminded me of it in 2015 and caused me to begin to look at it differently. And I am still having to reimagine and reevaluate my life and my own thinking to accommodate God's economy for the 21st century. It's something you go, oh, okay, all right, I got that. Good. We'll change that tomorrow. No, because we've been thinking the way we've been thinking for a long time. Okay. Layers upon layers of beliefs and systems. Many of them, we don't even believe them. But we've just become accustomed to doing things a certain way and operating a certain way and saying certain things. And we just keep perpetuating that. No, let's stop perpetuating it and let's begin to change how we're thinking and change what we're saying. Come into our power and let's help each other to be better managers and better stewards of our own bodies first and foremost, and of the world that God has given us and made us responsible for. All right, so I'm going to end this right there. Thank you so much for joining me, for listening to me. If you have questions, hit me up, Getting Clear with Tim Jones, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on TikTok. You can get to me. We'll have a conversation. I want to also invite you to go check out my online school, Getting Clear. Get Clear Institute is what it's called. GetClearInstitute.com. We have some resources there that you can take advantage of. Go check it out. If there's something that you like, take advantage of it. But go check it out. All right. Subscribe to my channel. If you have not done that yet, please do that. Help us. We're trying to help each other. Help us grow. We'll help you grow. That's what I'm here for. So as always, I'm going to sign off right here by encouraging you to live full so that you can die empty. You want to make sure that you are finished when you finish. Good night, everyone. See you next time on Getting Clear with Tim Jones.